I'm covering TikToks now. And at first I didn't think there was any way I could possibly fall any further, but then I actually watched the TikTok and realized that, oh no, there is a bottomless, gaping abyss beneath me still, as I do believe that this singular TikTok right here disproves any theories of evolution and or intelligent design, as I am fairly certain there are species of carrot with more functioning and firing neurons than our TikToker. Nevertheless, with the potential ban on TikTok being now less than a week away, happening supposedly on the 19th, I wanted to see what the general feeling around it was, and this is one of the more popular TikToks on the topic, and oh boy, well, that is a fine argument for why we should ban it, so let's have a quick look at it, shall we?
Fascist countries ban apps. Fascist countries ban websites. Fascist countries ban apps and websites under the guise of threats to national security.
Good start. Fascist countries ban apps. I don't think we know what the definition of fascist is here, as I'm fairly certain no fascist country has actually ever banned an app. You know, being destroyed largely before they came around and stuff, but I get your general idea here. What you mean is authoritarian, not this overused buzzword that fascist has become. And on the topic of authoritarian countries banning apps, you are aware that China, the origin point of TikTok, has banned probably the majority of the internet at this point? They have banned a lot of websites and services in China because they are unwilling to agree to the Chinese government's censorship rules and regulations. So in part, you are correct. Authoritarian governments do indeed ban apps and websites. And you are currently licking the taint of one of those right now.
When every other country knows it's about suppressing the free speech of its citizens.
Damn, I paused too soon. That would have been an even better point. Every other country, well, actually, pretty much across the world, politicians, for example, aren't allowed to have TikTok on their phones. And we could return to the topic of China with every other country. See, here's the thing. China is an actively antagonistic nation towards the West, and it uses TikTok specifically to attempt to influence Western culture. This is why, by the way, TikTok is not available in China. Because China knows TikTok's not a very good idea for them. At all, and that is why we probably should ban it as well. If the people who created this thing themselves throw up their hands and go, oh god no, we would never allow this to operate in our nation, maybe we should reconsider allowing it to operate in ours. Now granted, they do have a variant of it, which is Douyin, or something like that, buzzing noise in Chinese in essence, which is a version of TikTok that of course follows all of the rules of China when it comes to social media.
If the government believes that a single app could, quote from the hearing on the 10th, skew the perspective of American citizens to be anti-American, maybe the real problem is that American citizens are already in such a state of political unrest and unhappiness that our government is scared a single foreign influence could tip the scale and have it all be over.
I wonder why. How could they think that? How could they think that a single app could possibly have this kind of effect on a wider scale? How could it believe that, I don't know, young women might defend a, as they put it, fascist country and their fascist apps from being deleted in their own fascist country? No, truly, it seems ridiculous, as if one app could possibly have this much power. You know, it kind of does. A part of me wants it to be true. Part of it, like, oh god, I remember when we used to mock people talking about Twitter news, and now news on Twitter is probably your best source for news in general. Oh god, help me. That was a long time ago. The simple fact is that social media has in essence become the way that a lot of people consume their entertainment, not just entertainment, but information now as well. People trust the mainstream media less and less, and prefer instead to go either directly to the source of the information, or to where the information is being largely transmitted, which is social media. If you then have a social media platform that plays only by a certain set of rules, artificially benefiting one side over the other, then you are obviously advantaging that side. We saw that for a very long time with Facebook, for example. And indeed, the left is largely complaining right now that Twitter is no longer benefiting them. That is what they're actually complaining about. I know, it's like, oh, Twitter is censoring us now. No, you're just being forced to play by the same rules as literally everybody else. Oh, cis is a slur now. How could they? So much for free speech. I know. We used to basically have no restrictions on what we were allowed to say on the internet. Then you came along. But a level playing field must indeed feel like oppression to someone who is so used to privilege, after all. As, yes, no, a single app with billions of users at this point, I think, if not that, at least very hundreds of millions, can absolutely skew the perception of the world. And how did we arrive at this splintered ideology, like the splintered worldview that we've arrived at now? Well, it is because of a largely Gramscian political theory that has attempted to undermine what is perceived as our Western normals. Again, they've outlaid this quite literally word for word in Gramsci's own writings, in the writings of many of the modern-day left-wing philosophers. The goal is to undermine Western civilization. And China, of course, is entirely on board with that, which is why they're more than willing to allow an app that they will not allow to function in their country to work in everybody else's.
Don't you think that by taking away the, and I quote, key communications channel of Americans, it's gonna make those 170 million Americans a little more anti-American?
You know, that is actually genuinely a fear, yes. You might end up actually antagonizing a great deal of people by removing something that they have grown fond of, but, well, tough shit, I do suppose. If a foreign entity, like China, an active and genuine national security risk, that is, even now claiming that they're gearing up for an invasion of Taiwan, a, American ally, you are probably actually going to have to remove it, yes. You could argue all you want that it's the Americans', way of liberty to choose to consume the propaganda of their opponents, but it really doesn't hold up under much scrutiny.
Maybe Congress knows and understands that. Maybe the government knows that the backlash it will receive from banning TikTok does not outweigh the threats that come with its existence. Not in a matter of national security, but in a matter of being the most popular news and media outlet that the government cannot control.
But that is the matter of national security. See, the government can already not control quite a few social media platforms in America, and definitely the government has been a bit upset about that on several occasions previously, launching into various hearings with, more or less justified reasons, shall we say. But this is, as you call it, a key communications method that is held, owned, and operated by America's enemy. Yeah, that is a national security risk. Ironically, it'd be like broadcasting Goebbels' speeches across the US in the 1940s. It'd be something that people would frown upon rather severely.
Like American-owned broadcasting networks and publications. Maybe, if this was actually a national security concern, the government would be banning all Chinese-developed apps.
Yes, that is indeed what they should be doing, but one step at a time, please.
Like Shein and Temu that collect the exact same amount of data as TikTok.
Yes, But again, the problem isn't the data that TikTok collects, it is the fact that it is now a propaganda arm of the Chinese government active within your nation, which is spreading content that apparently China itself doesn't want in China. See, here's the interesting thing. China actually has massive, in essence, re-education camps where they teach the youth to not be addicted to online culture, to not consume as much online media, because in the opinion of China, this is not actually good for you. This is not healthy. This does not build an effective society or an effective servant class, in essence. But they are willing to allow you to do it. Again, questions should be asked here as to why.
Because maybe it knows TikTok is something special. You can't politically organize on Temu. If TikTok goes dark, the government deliberately and knowingly took away your free speech. Do not accept national security for an answer, ever.
Now see, there's the one good argument in all of this. Absolutely. There is an argument to be made for the absolute nature of freedom of speech. And even through, indeed, channels that are unsafe, unconventional, dangerous, indeed actual threats to national security, but as always, in times of dire need, when, you're planning for a war with the country that operates the app, it feels entirely justified to actually start deleting it. Again, China has been in an active state of cultural war against the West now for, years and years, decades quite probably. It simply just picked up the slack where the Soviet Union left off. Itself a power that, for a very long time, attempted to undermine Western society and its values. And sadly, on many occasions, succeeded, to the point that now they're just kind of admitting to it that they did that. We don't want this to happen again. We do not want China to form the culture of tomorrow, because if that happens, America's pretty much already lost any conflict that it might have to engage in with China. Now, this, of course, America must understand because it itself is currently the cultural hegemon, although its grip is rapidly slipping, largely due to the political infiltration of the far left. In video gaming, for example, it is currently losing its grip, massively so, to an Overwatch clone. And as Chinese entertainment grows into other things like movies, animations, and television series, in all due likelihood, we're going to start seeing a similar blitz in these areas as China wakes up and realizes, holy hell, has our enemy actually fallen so far? Can we actually make massive inroads into one of the largest entertainment entities on Earth, video gaming, simply by taking a Marvel character and putting her in a skin-tight suit? Yes. The only reason why this hasn't happened before is because China genuinely didn't think it would be this easy. Now that they do, however, well, let's just say that the banning of TikTok might be coming in the 11th hour, if not indeed a little bit over the deadline. But there is the TikTokers' point of view on the banning of TikTok. And hey, I sympathize, I get it, right? If I'd built up an enormous presence on a platform and then the government goes, no, you're not actually allowed to use that platform, I would be royally pissed off as well. I sympathize with it, I really do. And I can even understand the argument of freedom of speech, but unfortunately, this is one of those cases where, well, reality does need to take precedent over principle. It's an unfortunate situation, but unless you want to be ruled by China and not have access to TikTok still, then this is what we're going to have to do, unfortunately. Personally, I do hope that the ban goes through. I would rather not actually see somebody buy TikTok. I know there were some rumors of Elon Musk, but I very much so doubt so. Although if anyone was going to take it over, I would prefer it to be him. But, well, the style of content that is popular on TikTok, I know this is rich coming from a YouTuber, but it's not good for you. It is not good for anyone. And if it can be exercised from society, I think we'll all stand to benefit. Do let me know what you think down in the comment sections below, and as always, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.